Hello there.
It has been a while since I have uploaded, and before you go making jokes about my uploading schedule, I actually do have a good reason for being away so long this time. Seasonal depression, university, assignments, tests, certain creatures eating away at my free time. I honestly wanted to upload for a long while, but my time for editing and writing scripts were so limited that I just had to give up making videos. But I can make up for that now. So this release of content will be a little bit different. Instead of me just releasing one video and waiting for 5 years again, I'll be uploading 10 videos very close to each other. And then after those 10 initial videos, I'll attempt to upload once every week or so. That is unless, of course, there are certain other creatures that eat my free time again. The video of why no one uses will still continue, but I will be trying to make brand new videos outside of just the topic of why no one uses. For example, some new ideas related to the concept, or even some other discussion topics. But enough of all of that nonsense. Let's move on to the video you've been waiting for, Grim Embrace. Grim Embrace is a perk that belongs to the artist, and one thing I have to mention is that I loved the Portrait of a Murder chapter. I know it is relatively mixed, considering Artist is not the most popular killer, and the introduction of Gideon's Meat Plant too, but the perks that came out with the chapter were honestly some of the best that come out in a long time. Scourge Hook Pain Res has been popular since its inception, even before the Deadman Switch combo, and Hex Pentimento has surprisingly stood the test of time as a well-used perk, considering it came out during the peak of the Boon Totem meta. Even perks like Boon Exponential and Overcome were honestly pretty strong when they arrived, even to this day. Sadly, with all these great perks, we did get some stinkers, and Grim Embrace is sadly one of them. To be fair though, it's not as bad as something like Corrective Action, which is genuinely bad, but has a few flaws that make it kind of, well, lame. As for what Grim Embrace does, I'll give you all a reminder, considering none of you may have ever played against it. Every time the killer hooks a unique survivor for the first time, Grim Embrace gains 1 token, and once it gains 4 tokens, it activates. All generators are then blocked for the next 40 seconds, and the Obsession's aura is revealed for 5 seconds. The perk is designed to reward chasing multiple survivors, it grants aura breeding, and has a pretty hefty slowdown. What is not to love about Grim Embrace? Sadly, it does not seem to be very popular with melee players, and that has to do with a plethora of reasons. One of them is that the perk is slow. Although having a pretty hefty slowdown of 40 seconds, you need to hook every survivor in the match once, and that can be a challenge for many players. The last survivor may be a Noob 3 wannabe who will loop you around the map for 3 consecutive times in a row, while clicking at you with their now poor excuse of a flashlight. Another problem related to the slow effect has to do with timing. Some games, Grim Embrace activates before any gen pops, while in other games, the gens are already done by the time you get the last survivor. This makes the perk sadly inconsistent compared to other slowdown perks, which relates to the second problem of Grim Embrace. There is no real reason to run Grim Embrace when compared to other slowdown perks in the game. Scourge Hook Pain Res combined with Deadman Switch is pretty much a mini Grim Embrace, blocking the most progressed gen, along with notifying you where the survivors were. Another recent slowdown build that has become extraordinarily popular is Eruption and Call of Brine, which has slowly become Scott's favorite build on Western Wraith, by the way. Although the slowdown is slow at first, the moment you get it down, that's when all that setup is rewarded. I can't go on about other perks like Deadlock and such, but I think you are beginning to get the point on why it's rather pathetic compared to other slowdown. The last problem is more of an oversight rather than a problem intended in the perk for Grim Embrace. Do you remember Coconut RTS's video where he talked about how people would DC's matches to prevent the activation of Blood Warden? This is a similar case. If one guy DCs from the game, whether it's because they rage quit, intended to mess you up, or forgot to turn off the oven, it completely changes Grim Embrace from a slowdown perk to a pretty low cosmetic on the bottom of your screen. Now, to be fair, you may say that it would be unfair if Grim Embrace activated, regardless of a DC, Because after all, slowdown on 4 survivors is not as painful as a slowdown on 3, and I agree. However, if you are planning on running a perk and it just does nothing, what's to stop you from running something better and having it do something anyway? Why would you run Grim Embrace if it can be stopped by 1 DC, when you can run Scourge Hook Pain Res, which activates regardless of if DC or not? Now, this leaves us with an extremely healthy perk that is slow to activate, is outclassed by other slowdowns, and has a major flaw in the design, especially in recent DBD gameplay where DCing is the new survivor tech. Now, I do not think that the perk needs a drastic overhaul. I honestly think the idea is close to being perfect. The slowdown that rewards chasing multiple survivors is actually pretty good. The perk rewards chasing every survivor down, while also punishing tunneling and campy behavior, which is always a nice thing to see in DBD. In reality, I think there are 2 possible options for buffing up Grim Embrace to make it see more play. The first being to fix the major problem, DCing. The first buff option I would like to make is that whenever a survivor DCs from the match, the perk automatically acquires a token. This will remove the biggest problem with Grim Embrace, that being the DC meta, and would allow the perk to actually work. Granted, you still have to catch the other 3 survivors, but at least you do not lose a perk because one guy was angry he didn't face Starstruck Nurse for the 18th time. The second buff option is more of an idea I had during my evil planning session, along with my plan for world domination with Penguins, but that's for another day. The second buff option I would recommend for Grim Embrace is that it gets a small rework, focusing on its token system a little more. I would change Grim Embrace to have this new effect instead. Every time you hook a unique survivor for the first time, Grim Embrace gains 1 token. At 1 token, all generators not being worked on are blocked for 10 seconds. At 2 tokens, all generators not being worked on are blocked for 20 seconds, and the Obsession's aura is revealed for 2 seconds. At 3 tokens, all generators are blocked for 30 seconds, and the Obsession's aura is revealed for 4 seconds. And finally, at 4 tokens, all generators are blocked for 40 seconds, and the Obsession's aura is revealed for 6 seconds. Now, numbers can depend and could get changed if this version of Grim Embrace does appear in the game, but I honestly think this is a dramatic rework for the perk. This is more to play with the idea of a ramping evil for Grim Embrace. However, like I said, it is clearly a drastic idea. I only recommend this idea because I think a ramping evil perk would be cool to see, and if the first idea for a buff does not work out for Grim Embrace, this could always be a fun idea for a perk. Now, it may have new problems, however, just talking about it isn't going to get us anywhere. We're looking at it in a vacuum after all. If you were to describe something like Decisive Strike to a new player, it may sound impressive at first, but then you use the perk and realize it's not very good, especially compared to before. Now, these, however, are my thoughts. What do you all think about Grim Embrace? What changes would you like to make? Do you think it's too weak? Or maybe too strong? Or even, you're crazy enough to think it's balanced overall? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and to conclude, I wish you a very, very happy Christmas.